Along the banks of the Detroit River, where nighttime raindrops tap softly on the awnings and the street lamps cast only silent pools of dim light, there sits a small diner called Riverside Kitchen. Unremarkable, unglamorous, it exists as a refuge for the weary, and tonight it holds Serena Bennett, a 35-year-old waitress dutifully finishing a 12-hour shift. Serena does not possess conventional beauty. Her skin is sun-kissed brown, her gait unhurried. Faint shadows lie beneath her eyes, yet her gaze retains just enough warmth to make anyone feel seen, acknowledged. As on any other night, she's wiping down the final table, preparing to close, until her eyes drift to the rain-spattered window, and she stops. Outside, torrents flood the pavement. A boy sits huddled in a battered wheelchair, clad in a thin jacket, rain-matted hair plastered to his scalp, his small hands clutching a torn blanket as if it were his last possession. No one else is with him. No one stops. Only him, alone beneath the cold downpour and pallid streetlight. Serena doesn't hesitate. She opens the door, wind tossing the rag from her hand, and speaks gently. "Hey there, sweetheart. Are you freezing? Come on in with me." The boy hesitates. His eyes have known only passing glances, indifference. Then he meets Serena's eyes. Not pitying, not probing, simply honest presence, and he nods. Inside, warmth and the scent of butter and cream envelop them like a soft embrace. Serena places him beside the heater, drapes a dry towel over his shoulders, then slips into the kitchen without another question. Moments later she returns with a golden grilled cheese sandwich and a steaming bowl of tomato soup, the same meal her grandmother used to make on the darkest nights. "This is on me. Eat up, warm yourself." Daniel, the boy, tentatively tastes, then eats more quickly, and finally breaks into a genuine smile, small, but enough to lighten any heart. Serena sits quietly, watching him eat, her eyes reflecting what she silently tells herself. A child like this should never know such chill. What Serena doesn't know is that across the street, in a sleek black SUV parked in the shadows, a man watches them through the tinted glass. Motionless, his face as calm as stone, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. He is Daniel's father, Julian Holt, one of the region's most powerful businessmen. A man who believes only in balance, whoever gives must take. And tonight, Serena, a simple waitress in a forgotten diner, has done the unpredictable. She has given without expecting anything in return. To him, that is dangerous. To Daniel, it is the first moment he has ever felt truly seen, not as a burden, but as a person. And to Serena, it is merely another rainy night. Yet it is the night when the door she opened did more than shelter from the storm. It opened a beginning, an invisible thread that will pull her into a world she doesn't belong to, yet must confront. Detroit at night holds a dense silence, not peaceful, but pregnant with unspoken things, unnamed observations. In that black SUV by the curb, Julian Holt sits alone, eyes fixed on the fogged window of Riverside Kitchen. Inside, his son Daniel is smiling. Not the polite smile reserved for adult-filled banquets, but a pure, unguarded joy as he bites into the hot sandwich, his eyes bright with an innocence that has never known kindness. The woman responsible is the waitress, Serena Bennett. No grand gesture, no condescension, only a tired woman in an old apron, leaning down to wipe Daniel's chin, placing another glass of milk beside him as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Every move she makes is soft, precise, like a breath. Julian Holt, who runs Holt Tech, a multi-billion-dollar tech conglomerate, believes nothing exists without cost. Time, loyalty, even kindness. But what Serena offered, unconditionally, was not on any ledger, and he finds himself indebted. He calls his phone. "Claire, her name is Serena Bennett. She works at Riverside Kitchen. Find everything you can, her past, finances, employment history. I want that file on my desk by tomorrow morning." His assistant hesitates. "How deep do you want us to go?" Julian glances back at the diner where Daniel still smiles. Thorough, but discreet. She'll know her kindness is not forgotten. The next morning, Serena wakes with a lingering unease. She has tried to forget Daniel's look from the night before, the fragile hope behind his nod, but it clings to her like an undercurrent she cannot still. She's met many children, but this boy, there was something different. A sharp knock at the door startles her. Too early for the mail. She cracks the door and finds a tall man in an expensive overcoat, hair flecked with silver, standing in her worn hallway. "You're Miss Bennett?" "Yes. Who are you?" Julian Holt, Daniel's father. His voice is low, each word weighted. Serena stiffens. You were outside last night? I saw everything. He studies her, then places an envelope on her kitchen table. Not money, a job offer. She narrows her eyes, guarded. You're thanking me for feeding your son? No, Julian replies evenly. I'm offering because you saw my son. You truly saw him. Not as the wheelchair boy, not as my son, but as a human being. She falls silent. He continues softly, firmly. I want you at Holt Tech, as Senior External Affairs Advisor. 6-figure salary, full benefits. The choice is yours. Serena forces a smile. Sounds like you're contracting kindness. Julian does not argue. His gaze softens. I don't rent kindness. I invest in those who know how to use it at the right moment. She stands with her hand on the envelope. In that quiet instant, Serena understands. If she opens it, her life will change. She's not sure she's ready, but she's not sure she wants things to stay the same. Before dawn fully breaks, Serena sits at her kitchen table, the ivory envelope before her. She hasn't opened it, yet she feels its weight. Not only money, but a turning point, a door leading into the unknown. Her life has been a series of small choices. Skip a meal to pay the bills, pick up extra shifts to keep the lights on. This time, the choice is no longer between not enough and enough. It is between safety and change, and Serena has never believed change could come from someone else. Yet Daniel's face, pure and grateful as he held that bowl of soup and piece of bread, remains vivid in her mind. She offered kindness instinctively. Perhaps that is why Julian Holt stood on her doorstep during the storm. At last, she breaks the seal. Inside is an offer letter from Holt Tech, 6-figure salary, extraordinary perks. But what gives her pause is the final line. Confidential ethical commitment, reserved for senior leadership. Serena frowns. She is no fool. The more generous the corporation, the steeper the price. And when Julian says investment rather than repayment, she knows there is more behind this than gratitude. A few days later, Serena steps into Holt Tech's headquarters, acutely aware she does not belong. Her inexpensive blazer, second-hand shoes, and the curious glances from every direction. Yet Serena does not lower her head. She has been underestimated before. She knows how to endure. Julian Holt waits in the high-rise glass office. No family photos, no personal touches, only a cold desk and eyes sharp as steel. You read the contract? He asks bluntly. I did, she replies, and I noticed the ethical commitment. Unusual for a PR role, isn't it? He nods. Not everyone catches that detail. What exactly am I stepping into, Mr. Holt? He sizes her up as though weighing a wager. I don't need a figurehead for the media. I need someone who can uphold standards, yet understands that not everything is black and white. Serena offers no argument, but she is not easily swayed. And if I decline? She asks. You still have the job. You just won't have any influence. In that moment, Serena realizes Julian is not bestowing charity. He is choosing an ally. Strangely, she does not feel afraid. She leans forward, resolute. I will not cover up wrongdoing, but I do not fear the truth. Julian inclines his head. Welcome to Holt Tech, Miss Bennett. The conference room's atmosphere is tuned to tense silence. Each leather chair holds a suited figure, cold eyes and razor intellects. No one here plays to lose. And Serena Bennett, in her modest blazer, steps in like an off-key note in their symphony of power. But she does not retreat. She never has. Julian sits at the head of the table, unhurried as ever. He pushes a thick dossier toward her. Serena opens it. Its first line clamps her throat. Proposal to downsize 3 manufacturing plants in the southern Midwest. Projected savings $18 million per year. No mention of people. No names, ages, or circumstances. Only costs. She looks up. You want me to sell this as a growth strategy? Julian neither gods nor denies. I want you to talk to our partners at Orion first. Persuade them to reconsider. Serena sits upright, unwavering. Do I have full authority? He replies with 2 words. Temporarily, yes. The meeting with Orion's representatives, 3 men whose watches cost more than Serena's old salary, takes place on the 42nd floor, where every glass of water and shaft of light is designed to humble. Serena knows they did not expect a woman like her. As predicted, they ignore her for the first 10 minutes. She does not rush. A former minimum wage worker knows that patience is power. Finally, when Langford, the lead delegate, glances her way as if granting permission to speak, Serena simply smiles. You're right that offshoring will save money, she says in a clear, measured voice. But have you calculated the cost of lost trust? When thousands of American workers lose their jobs, and that story hits the press, can you buy your reputation back? Langford folds his arms, smirking. We're in the business of profit, not charity. Serena tilts her head, calm. That is precisely why I'm here, to remind you that in business, credibility is your lifeblood, and you're burning through yours fast. A minute of silence. Langford looks at Julian. Does she think she's lecturing me? Julian folds his arms, amusement flickering. She's offering you a face-saving exit, your choice whether to take it. At that moment, Serena does not know she has just passed her first true test, not with the partners, but with Julian. In his gaze, the challenge has become genuine evaluation. As they leave the boardroom, Serena walks beside Julian in silence. Only when the elevator stops at the 18th floor does he speak softly. You're not like the others. She replies without turning. I don't have time to be new. Julian gives a rare nod, a sign he has backed the right person. But in that instant, he studies her longer than usual. Then, almost to himself, he asks, Are you afraid, Bennett? She pauses before stepping into her office, turning to meet his eyes. Only one thing, Mr. Holt, that I'll become part of the very system I once despised. Then she goes in, leaving Julian alone in the hallway, something stirring in him. Not fear, but a crack in his absolute control. Success always demands a price. For Serena Bennett, the cost is not extra hours or others' doubts. It is an invisible hand, cold and sharp, slicing a mark across her back. It begins with a seeming triviality, a printed dossier on her desk early one morning. No note, no sender. The cover reads confidential. Inside, the private financial statements of Holt Futures, a subsidiary. Most alarming, the email log shows it sent externally from serena.bennett@holtcorp.org. She never sent it. The system insists she did. Timestamp 2:14 a.m. to a major newspaper. Holding her breath, Serena strides to Julian Holt's office and lays the dossier on his desk. You know I didn't do this. Julian studies her long and deeply, then gives a slight nod, small but enough. He is listening. For now. Serena tracks down Nora, Julian's trusted assistant, not out of trust, but because she knows. If anyone inside could frame her, it would be someone at the heart of power. Nora fits that profile. You think I did it? Nora asks, expressionless. I think someone wants me gone, Serena replies, unblinking, and you're the only one who knew this could happen. Nora does not deny. After their talk, a silent, precise investigation begins. Serena works with IT to trace every server access, every pre-dawn login. And then a name emerges, Ethan Gray, Senior Finance Manager. Previously celebrated for an unblemished record, but precisely because his record was spotless, his login at the leak's timestamp makes him suspicious. What will you do? Serena asks when she brings the evidence for the second time. Julian weighs courage against consequence. I don't need apologies, Serena says firmly. I need them to understand that no one can make me a scapegoat without paying the price. You will not back down? He asks. I have lived at rock bottom. I know what it feels like to be targeted because I was vulnerable, but this time I am not alone. Julian nods, not in agreement but in respect. When Ethan is summoned to an unexpected meeting, no reason is given. Yet when he emerges, eyes wide with panic, the halls understand. Serena does not celebrate. She stands alone in her office, gazing out at the city, silent. Not because she has won, but because she knows this is only the beginning. Those who manipulate from the shadows remain many, but from now on, they know that if they touch her, she will fight back. Quietly, relentlessly. The storm of leaked news has passed, yet the atmosphere at Holt Futures hasn't yet quieted. People now whisper Serena's name not half-heartedly, but with full curiosity and wariness. For in the cold world of power, surviving an overt setup isn't luck. It makes you a threat. Serena wasn't exactly welcomed after her victory, but she was acknowledged. And sometimes, acknowledgement is worth more than praise. That morning, she sat alone in the corner of the 33rd floor conference room, sunlight slanting through the glass wall and pooling on the dark wood table. Before her lay the development plan for the community outreach program, something Holt Futures had drafted to appease the press, but never truly executed. Serena once relied on free meals at a charity outpost. She knows community support can't live as polished paragraphs in an annual report. It must have faces, names, the scent of genuine care. Julian Holt entered unannounced, setting a paper bag on the table. "Coffee from the cafe across the street," he said. "I heard you're not fond of the machine brew." Serena raised an eyebrow. A CEO remembering an on-again, off-again temp's drink preference? Intriguing. "Thanks, but I don't suppose you came just to play delivery guy." Julian sat, folding his hands. "I want to hear more about your proposal." Serena nodded. "I want to build a vocational training center for Westburn youth. Real skills support, not photo ops and gift bags." Julian frowned. "Westburn? The neighborhood I grew up in," she replied, "where kids like Daniel learn to survive before they can grow up." The name Daniel hung between them like a long exhale. "Is he okay?" Julian asked. "He's doing great," Serena smiled. "Next week he's speaking at the Law Student Symposium. His topic is Opportunity is Not a Favor." Julian nodded, eyes distant. "I've never seen anyone but Serena Bennett look at a drenched, shivering child and see a person, not a problem." Serena shrugged. "Because I was that kid. So I know, and I want others to have the chance to be seen too." 4 weeks later, on a vacant lot at Westburn's edge, once an abandoned parking area, temporary fencing went up. A large sign spanned the site, Bennett Holt Youth Entrepreneurship Center. Beneath it, a group stood together: engineers, communications staff, volunteers, and neighborhood kids, eyes bright with hope. Serena stepped onto a small wooden platform, gripping the microphone with hands that once trembled in a basement apartment. Her voice was calm but firm. "We're not here to give out charity. We're here to restore the right to begin. No matter where you come from, you deserve a place to stand tall." Below, Daniel held the hand of a younger boy, the same boy Serena once invited in from the freezing rain. Because the world never lacks those who fall. It lacks those who reach out to help. The Westburn Center soon became a beacon amid the neighborhood's faded walls. Its exterior was repainted a gentle yellow. Its windows remained clean and open, like an outstretched hand ready to catch those life had tripped. There, everyone is called by name, not by mistakes. No one must pledge their past as collateral for entry. Serena was more than the founder. She was an undercurrent, flowing through every classroom, every hallway, every glass of water placed just so after a trade skill session. That presence made people believe the simplest thing they'd long doubted: kindness need not be a trap. It can be real. One early summer afternoon, in a small room repurposed from an old storage closet, Daniel presented his first life plan, a custom wheelchair workshop for disabled children. "Not everyone's needs are the same," he declared, voice steady. Serena looked at the boy, now nearly her height, his smile no longer hesitant but broad and natural, as if he'd finally grown used to the idea that he was allowed to be happy. "Are you sure?" she asked. "This is a big undertaking." "I don't want to wait for someone else to do it," Daniel answered. "I want to start it myself." Her silence spoke volumes, for it echoed the very thought she'd had that rainy night when she first saw him shivering outside. Elsewhere, atop Holt Future's tallest floor, Julian Holt faced a different storm: internal dissent. The budget reallocation plan, to expand community centers like Westburn, had shareholders restless. Some accused him of being sentimental, distracting from the company's core. Emails with titles like "Reevaluate the Bennett Initiative" flooded the board's inbox. Julian, who had always ruled by spreadsheets and metrics, sat quietly through a meeting for the first time. He thought of the faces at the center's opening. He thought of Daniel and Serena. He thought of how a single sandwich had sparked a whole revival. That evening, instead of taking his car home, Julian went to Westburn unannounced. A soft rain fell. On the center's porch, warm yellow light spilled outward. He lingered, watching through the window as Serena guided a young girl learning to write her resume. His features didn't soften into a smile, but something gentled around his eyes. When Serena stepped outside and saw him, she said only, "Are you skipping the board meeting?" Julian answered quietly, "They said I let emotion override reason." "What do you think?" Serena asked, arms crossed, gaze as sharp as the night she'd first faced the CEO's desk without sitting. Julian looked at the street behind her, a road pocked with old wounds, now dotted with small lights like candles. "I think," he said slowly, "that if there is one emotion worth following to the end, it is the sense of justice." Serena nodded, then fell silent. Within her, something solidified, not faith, but a resolve no longer needing validation. That night's rain was light, yet it watered the ground where dreams begin to take root. Autumn arrived with a rare internal hiring round at Holt Futures, a program to identify and appoint future leaders from frontline staff. A bold idea, of course. Some whispered it was just window dressing. But Serena doesn't do window dressing. She spent a week in interview rooms, listening to broken dreams mended by grit, from gatekeepers who taught themselves coding on lunch breaks to single mothers who ran warehouses like military campaigns. Their stories reminded her of herself, once judged by an apron and a server's smile. When it was Daniel's turn, Serena nearly held her breath. She'd heard his pitch 100 times, but as he stood there, no longer the boy curled against the rain, but a young man with a confident voice and unflinching eyes, her heart still stirred. "I don't just want to build a product," Daniel said. "I want to make a statement. About access, about equity, that every child deserves to move through this world without apologizing for their body." The room paused. Then a board member asked, "Do you think you have enough experience to lead a division?" Daniel smiled. "I don't have many credentials, but I have a clear memory of being left behind, and I don't want anyone else to carry that memory forever." Serena said nothing, only nodded. Daniel's answer needed no endorsement. Meanwhile, in another conference room, Julian Holt faced a closed-door meeting. A small group of shareholders proposed restructuring, a euphemism for pulling funds from social initiatives to acquire a failing tech chain. A thick proposal lay before him. "Our next quarter's profits will rise by at least 13%, one said. "We can refocus our brand, return to industry leadership." Julian glanced down at the bold figures, then out the window at the afternoon light on Westburn's center roof. He recalled Serena's face when she first refused that envelope of opportunity, and Daniel's face when he tested his prototype wheelchair. "There are investments," Julian said slowly, "whose returns don't show in this quarter, but they do show when a boy walks into a boardroom knowing he's been heard." Another member frowned. "That's emotion, Julian. We deal in data." Julian lifted his head. "Then perhaps it's time we update our definition of data." No one answered. But the chairs around the table felt less stable than before. Late that afternoon, Serena received a call. "Daniel's been chosen," Julian's voice announced, "and we want you as co-founder on our global accessibility project." Serena was silent for a long moment. "You know," she said, "there was a time I thought the only gift I ever had was a listening sandwich." Julian chuckled softly. "And you turned it into a leadership philosophy." Outside the window, sunset poured in like honey. Serena set down the phone and stepped into the hallway where Daniel waited. No words were needed. They both knew they hadn't just passed a test. They'd opened another door, for those still waiting on the far side of the dream. The new building is neither tall nor gleaming like Holt Futures Tower. It's modest, nestled in Westburn's mixed neighborhood, where corrugated roofs neighbor cafes striving to revitalize the community. But above its door hangs a simple oak sign, the Serena Center for Opportunity. No slogan, no flashy logo, just a name and an invitation. On opening day, a light rain fell, yet people came in droves. The woman who once carried late-night coffee now wore a dark linen shirt, her hair neatly pinned. She stepped onto a platform barely raised above the ground. Around her stood those who knew the name Serena Bennett, not from headlines, but from bowls of soup served on time, from non-judgmental looks, from questions beginning, "Are you okay?" instead of, "Where'd you graduate?" She spoke only a short story. "One time," Serena said, "I gave a cookie to a boy. It was cold, and he'd shivered all day in his wheelchair, having eaten nothing. I thought, if I could make him smile, then the day wasn't wasted." Her voice paused, warm as buttered sugar just melting. "That boy gave me back a whole world." The crowd did not applaud. They stood quietly. Some wiped away tears, not for grandeur, but for truth, that a seemingly small act can turn a life's course. Daniel stepped up from behind, now tall and steady. He steadied Serena's elbow, not because she was weak, but to show she never walked alone. They cut the ribbon, colorless, because someone said, "Color can't capture the meaning." The following week, Julian Holt received a letter. Not an email, no red seal, just a handwritten envelope in his late mother's shaky script. She'd passed nearly 10 years earlier. "My son, if one day you become so successful that people mention your name without introduction, remember this. The only thing that preserves a person's greatness isn't power, it's the ability to empower others. Julian held the letter a long while, and the next morning, across all Holt Future's internal channels, a brief announcement appeared. We are proud to establish the Emerging Talent Empowerment Fund, inspired by the journey of Vice President Serena Bennett and Director Daniel Reyes, for those ever underestimated due to origin, skin color, or circumstance. Beneath the notice, a photograph, Serena smiling, wind gently tussling her hair, Daniel beside her holding the new conceptual sketch, a smart chair line designed by disabled innovators for their own community. This story does not end with applause. It ends with a door left open, with someone pouring tea for a stranger after a rainy day, with a cookie wrapped in wax paper, with a small trust that sometimes, to change the world, you only need to choose not to turn away from a cold child. And sometimes, the kindness no one forces you to have is what makes people remember your name forever.